Think about it for a second. If AI takes over all the typical tasks a brand new employee handles, how on earth does that novice ever learn to make sound professional judgments? People love to call this AI stealing jobs, right? But that's not quite accurate. Welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right in, because today we're answering a very specific, fascinating question. Why might a massive time-saving tool actually make it harder for novices to become reliable professionals? And we're going to do this without any of the usual doom-mongering about mass job losses.
Take a look at this because it brilliantly illustrates what's actually happening out there. See that blue AI hand? It is literally pulling out the middle rungs of the career ladder. While the top represents judgment and responsibility, the bottom is just basic execution. Those middle rungs? That represents the crucial space where entry-level execution meets feedback, explanation, and error correction. When a company hands those specific practice tasks directly to an AI tool, the novice doesn't just lose a few boring chores. They lose the entire environment where they can safely bump into walls, get feedback, and really calibrate their understanding of the work. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the missing first rung. Second, the true value of entry level. Third, the raised entry barriers. Fourth, the experience circuit loop. And finally, practical actions for everyone.
Okay, starting with part one, the missing first rung.
We really need to maintain some epistemic humility here because the signals are incredibly mixed. Just look at this data from the World Economic Forum and PwC's 2026 report. On one hand, you've got 68% of junior staff feeling like AI massively boosted their productivity. But right next to that, 45% say their total work time actually increased. Furthermore, the report makes a crucial point that we have to remember. While there is absolutely a slowdown in junior hiring right now, the causal link pointing to AI as the definitive reason is still highly debated. It is not a settled fact. It's just not as simple as saying AI is destroying a generation of jobs, or, on the flip side, efficiency will naturally make everything better.
Moving on to part two, true value of entry level. We really need to dismantle a common misconception here. Entry-level jobs don't just sell output. They sell a low-risk environment for feedback, observation, and supervised practice. In the sociology of learning, there's a term for this, legitimate peripheral participation. Basically, it's a supervised practice process. A novice performs low-risk, controllable tasks on the very edge of an organization. And by doing this, they slowly pick up the organization's language, its specific standards, and all its weird exceptions way before ever taking on core responsibilities. Think about it. The true value of a junior employee's first written report isn't the actual text on the page. The value is a senior colleague circling a line and asking, okay, on what grounds did you make this conclusion? Which brings us to a really vital quote from Anthropic Use Research. They state, task coverage cannot directly equate to reality of employment changes. This is so important. AI is incredibly good at swallowing up the most standardized text-based parts of relay tasks. But just because an AI can cover specific entry-level tasks, it doesn't mean the entire human role just vanishes into thin air. Instead, the tasks that used to serve as practice, our professional training wheels, are simply being reallocated. Part three, the raised entry barriers. Okay, here's the real aha moment of this explainer. The public expectation is that with AI, entry-level work gets vastly easier or completely disappears. But the actual data reality shows something completely counterintuitive. AI is actually forcing entry-level roles to demand much higher-level strategic judgment. It's literally turning them into mini senior roles. Let's look at the numbers from the PwC 2026 AI Jobs Barometer to see what this looks like in practice. In junior jobs with high AI exposure, the requirement for traditional senior skills, like leadership and strategic thinking, is 7 times higher compared to low-exposure jobs. In fact, these seniorized junior roles have grown by 35% since 2019. Now, we are neutrally reporting this data as a specific sample observation. It's not a universal destiny for every single company out there. But the trend is undeniable. Companies don't just want someone who can draft a first version anymore. They want juniors who can deliver alongside AI while simultaneously spotting the AI's errors and judging the final output. And the National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE, confirms this in their own 2026 survey. Over a third of surveyed employers say entry-level roles now demand AI skills. 28% are actively seeking early talent who natively use AI in their workflows, and nearly 60% are assigning AI tool projects directly to their interns. But here is the absolutely crucial point. They aren't just looking for basic prompt engineers. They want individuals who can integrate these tools into real, messy work, and more importantly, take full responsibility for whatever output the tool generates.
The Strata survey of nearly 1,500 U.S. executives proves this isn't just a one-way disaster scenario. 42% of respondents say AI actually increased a junior employee's analytical and judgment responsibility. Meanwhile, 41% say it reduced basic skill-building tasks, and 33% noted a reduction in routine admin work. What this proves is that job quantity and growth quality are two entirely different problems. You might easily land a job today, but you might find that the daily tasks that would normally build your professional muscle memory have been automated away.
To really visualize this, let's borrow a fantastic analogy from the Dwarkash podcast. Imagine trying to learn the saxophone. Reading another novice's notes on how they succeeded cannot replace the physical friction of building your own muscle memory, unless, you enjoy sounding like a dying goose. The risk here isn't that AI is faster than you. The risk is that AI hands you the answer so quickly you completely skip the friction of forming your own judgment. Faster output can absolutely lead to vastly slower personal growth.
Section 4. The experience circuit loop. So we cannot rely on nostalgia to fix the career ladder. We have to purposefully rebuild the training grounds that AI has compressed. And we can do that using this mandatory 4-step loop. Step 1 is the task, giving real work with clear boundaries rather than just handing over a black box AI output. Step 2 is feedback, using clients, data, or senior peers to find flaws. Because without feedback, speed is really just repeating your mistakes faster. Step 3 is explanation, requiring the novice to use their own words to explain their assumptions and justify why they chose a specific answer. And finally, step 4 is ownership, taking accountability for a controllable outcome, like turning a quality check into a reusable rule.
And that brings us to part 5, practical actions for everyone.
Let's break this down into actionable steps. First up, for students and career switchers, you have got to move far beyond just putting "I can use AI models" on your resume. You are now selling your verifiable judgment, not just pretty fast outputs. Your portfolio needs to demonstrate that full experience loop we just talked about. Show the raw problem, show what the AI generated, show exactly how you validated it, where you proved the AI wrong, and most importantly, how you fixed it. Next, if you are a manager, please do not design roles where a junior employee just sits there and watches 5 AI agents work. Efficiency shouldn't mean zero friction. You have to preserve low-risk environments for necessary human errors to happen. Turn those weekly AI deliverables into junior-led explanation sessions where they actually have to defend the work. As the data suggests, you must actively redesign onboarding and mentorship specifically to cultivate complex decision-making early on. For schools and institutions, the grading system has to shift. We need to move away from just checking final outputs to assessing the actual process of learning. Implement live oral explanations, track version histories, and require rigorous peer reviews. As the World Economic Forum points out, bridging job access, job design, and talent pipelines is a systemic gap right now. It simply cannot be bridged by a student's self-discipline alone. Educators have to step up and build that bridge. Now, as we look at all these actions, we absolutely must anchor this discussion in demographic reality. Sweeping generalizations about a single region or a specific demographic just do not apply to everyone. For instance, the World Economic Forum estimates that 37% of global workers aged 15 to 24 are in high AI exposure jobs, and that spikes to a massive 75% in East Asia. However, the OECD explicitly warns that task risk is not the same as personal risk. In a lot of cases, youth digital skills can be a distinct advantage in navigating this. So we definitely shouldn't use one stat to write off an entire generation's prospects. So the crucial point I really want to leave you with is this framework. Next time you use AI to complete a task, don't just ask how many minutes you saved. Ask yourself 3 things. Where did I make my own judgment? Who can tell me it's wrong? And if it is wrong, can I explain and fix it? If you can answer those questions, you aren't just passively competing with a tool. You're actively rebuilding your own training loop, and you're developing the one thing AI cannot replace: verifiable, responsible human judgment in the face of uncertainty. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.